G'day guys and welcome back to the Great Rugby League Podcast. I am your host, as always, Ados. How are you all on this fine Sunday morning? Although, for a lot of you guys, it might be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whenever you're listening to this. Let me know how you are down in the comments below. Also, I would just like to let you know that when the season starts, the NRL season actually kicks off, we're going to be moving the episodes from Sunday to Wednesday. That's right, guys. 5 o'clock on Wednesdays, the episodes will actually go up. So a bit of a change there, but I think it's definitely a welcomed one. Alright, so today, guys, I was originally going to be looking at the NRL All-Stars, so I was going to give you my predictions for them. However, they got dropped today. The teams have officially been dropped. So instead of that, I will be giving you my predicted spines for every NRL team. Now, I put up a poll on YouTube asking you guys what you wanted to see. The All-Stars one was quite heavily the favourite. So I do apologise that we couldn't get that one up for you. But what I will do is name my 20-man squads. So that's from fullback all the way down to number 20. Obviously, the teams that dropped were in alphabetical order. So I've just put them all together in the right positions. And you guys can let me know if you agree or disagree. So that will be right at the end of the podcast. But today we are here to talk about spines. Now, I haven't added the locks to the spines. The traditional spine, as we all know, is fullback, 5'8", halfback, hooker. But I do think that the lock is an integral part of the spine and deserves to be in there. But I have chosen not to put them in there. Just keeping it old school, baby. That's what we're doing here. I've also scrapped the script, so it's all coming off the dome for this one, guys. Obviously, I've written a bit of research and stuff down on paper, but there's no script. So, look, I like the script because it stops the umming and ahhing and all that sort of stuff, but I do believe that off the dome flows better. So without further ado, let's get into episode 5 of the podcast, starting with the Broncos spine. Now, the Broncos spine pretty much picks itself. Walsh at fullback, Mam at 5'8", Renault at halfback, and then at dummy half, I've got Walters there. However, I would not be surprised if my boy Blake Mozer starts at dummy half at some point in the season. So that is my tip for the Broncos. I wouldn't just say round one spine. I think this is every team's best possible spine. All right, moving on to the Raiders. I've gone with Xavier Savage, Jack Whiten, Jamal Fogarty, and I've gone Woolford at dummy half because I think that's how they will go, is they will start Woolford and bring Starling off the back, which you'll see a video that would have dropped on Friday where I ranked dummy halves. I've actually got Starling over Woolford in that one. I think personally, if I was the Raiders, I would start Starling. But I think they will go for Woolford, and that is why I've gone this way in my predictions. Alright, for the Bulldogs, I've gone Jake Averillo, Matt Burton, Flanagan and Reid Marnie. I have heard rumours that Hayes Perham is going to be the fullback for the Bulldogs. I don't think that's the right call. I think, at least for this season, Averillo's got to be at fullback. I just think he's an absolute gun of a player. He deserves that fullback spot. He had an outstanding season last year. You never know. Perham could come in and absolutely kill it for them. But personally, I think Averillo definitely deserves that fullback spot, and I would be keeping him there. All right, for the Sharks, again, another team that realistically picks themselves. We've got Kennedy, Matt Moylan, Nico Hines, and Blake Brayley. Not too much more to say about that. I don't think there'll be any surprises. That's my spine locked in for Cronulla. All right, the Gold Coast is a little bit fun. Jesus, the Gold Coast is a little bit of a funny one. So I've gone. I agree with them when they came out and said they're going to play Brimson at fullback, Foran at 5'8", Tanner Boyd at halfback and Sam Verrills at dummy half. I honestly think that is the best option for the Titans. However, there's also, you do have Jaden Campbell there, who in my opinion is not a utility off the bench. If I was a Titans fan and they used him as a utility, I'd be very annoyed about that. It takes a spot off the bench that they could utilise another forward in, or potentially a proper utility. I just don't think, if a forward goes down, they're desperate for a forward. Campbell can't fill in in the forwards. The only option they could probably play is Verrills moves to lock, and they shuffle it around like that to bring Campbell on. But at the same time, I don't think it's the right move. The other player that's in the questions is Sexton, but I do think Tanner Boyd is the better player and definitely deserves that spot. All right, on to the Sea Eagles. Obviously, these players pick themselves as well. Turbo, Schuster, DCE and Croker in that order. I definitely think that this will be their spine if everybody is healthy. I don't think there's going to be any shocking selections. I think that will be their spine. For Melbourne Storm, obviously another one that picks themselves. Ryan Pappenhausen, Cam Munster, Jerome Hughes and Harry Grant. My apologies. So they are my players there. I think that you've got Munster and Grant, who are arguably the best players in their position. You've got two absolute weapons as well in Pappy and Hughes. I think the Storm and probably the Roosters spines are the best in the comp, I think by far. I think that Storm one pretty much just picks itself. Over to the Knights. Now, I've gone with Hodgson at fullback. I definitely think Hodgson should be their fullback there, especially moving Ponga to 5'8". You've got Hastings at halfback and Jaden Braley at dummy half. The only thing I would change is if they signed Lockie Miller, I'd have him at fullback, and Hodgson would unfortunately miss out. But look, I think it's Hodgson's time. I know we haven't heard too much about him, but I reckon he'll rip and tear and have a good year for the Knights if they give him the opportunity. All right, Parramatta, another one that pretty much is set in stone already. You've got Clint Gutherson, Dillbags Brown, Mitchy Moses, and Josh Hodgson. Easily picks itself. I don't think there's any arguments there. That will be the best Eels spine in 2023. All right, for the Panthers, 3 out of 4 of these players pick themselves. Edwards, Luai, and Cleary all a lock for their positions. Sonny Luke, I've got with their best dummy half option. I understand Mitch Kenny is there as well and will probably start most of the games, but I think their best spine will be Edwards, Luai, Cleary and Luke. All right, over to the Rabbitohs. Again, another team that realistically picks itself. Latrell Mitchell, Cody Walker, Lockie Ilias and Damien Cook. Now, I do think Cook's minutes may be a little shorter this year. I do think we will start bleeding in Peter Mamazelles. Whether that be at the start of the season or later on, I don't know. But I have heard pretty strong mail that Mamazelles will be the number 14 for this season. Blake Taff is also another one rumoured to be looked at for that number 14 jersey as well. But look, I think Cookie will play either 60 to 65 minutes, and Mamazelles will get a short little stint just to get him used to first grade footy. All right, the Dragons. Now this one, I've literally got 2 players that could potentially be fullback, 3 players that could potentially be 5'8", 1 player that's the halfback, and we all know who that is, and 2 players that could potentially be dummy half. Now for the fullback, I've gone... Look, the spine I've gone with is Ramsey, Amone, Hunt and Little. I think that would be the best option for them. Obviously, they've also got... I can't pronounce his first name. Probably not going to be able to pronounce his last name right either. Finau. If I do get that wrong, please let me know down in the comments. I do think that Finau could eventually start in that number 9 jersey, but we just haven't seen enough or any of him in first grade. Little has at least got a decent amount of first grade experience, so I think Ramsey, Amone, Hunt and Little are the best options for them. However, my second tier, Tyrell Sloan, definitely if Ramsey's not there for the start of the season, Sloan comes in, has an outstanding run at fullback, he will definitely overtake him. Bud Sullivan, I think will come in and replace Amone if those charges and all that fall through and he can't come back to the NRL. I think we will see Sullivan at 5'8". Alright, on to the Roosters. Again, arguably a team that just picks itself. We've got Tedesco, Keary, Walker, Smith. Tedesco, Keary, Walker and Smith. Now, I've forgotten to put the Cowboys on this list. I do apologise about that. So we'll run through the Cowboys next. But, look, I think this Roosters one definitely picks itself. You're not going to replace Teddy with anyone. I'd arguably say you wouldn't replace Keary with anyone. Definitely wouldn't be replacing Walker with anyone. And Brandon Smith, look, they might need another dummy half off the bench or a utility type of player, because I don't know how well Brandon Smith's going to go for a full 80 minutes. But, look, I definitely think this is the best spine for them, 100%, and I highly doubt anybody would argue with that statement. All right, for the Tigers, I think their halfback and their dummy half are locked in. Brooks and Coruscant 100% locked in for at least 2023. Fullbacks, now I've heard Dane Laurie is likely to play 5'8". I don't know why, which that would mean Adam Doueihi would move to the centres and Charlie Staines would play fullback. However, I've got as my best spine, I've got Dane Laurie, Adam Doueihi, Luke Brooks and Apisai Coruscant as my best spine. I think that is arguably the Tigers' best spine, and I think that is the spine they will go for. Alright, for the Warriors. Now, this is another one that's a little bit up in the air. The fullback position, Tamare Martin and CNK both fighting for that. I think at the moment Tamare Martin is locked in for that spot. But honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we do see Charles Nickel-Klokstad there eventually. Again, Tamare Martin could be the 5'8" as well. You've got Metcalf, who is likely to slot straight into that position, but you never know. You've also got Dylan Walker, who could play there. Sean Johnson, obviously locked in at halfback. I've gone with Wade Egan as the dummy half, but you could also make an argument for Jazz Tavanga as well. So my best spine for the Warriors, I think, will be Tamare Martin, Luke Metcalf, Sean Johnson and Wade Egan. I think that is the best case scenario for the Warriors. All right, over to the Dolphins, the newest team in the comp. I think fullback is pretty much locked in. I do think Hammer will get fullback. Unless Tessie New beats him there, I just don't see it happening. I've locked in the Hammer as my fullback. I think that'd be crazy not to trial him there. Milford, I've gone with for my 5'8", although if you were to go maybe Milford, I don't know, off the bench, or look, they're obviously going to go, in my opinion, Hammer, Milford, Sullivan and Jeremy Marshall-King. However, you could also go Hammer, O'Sullivan, Katoa, Jeremy Marshall-King, Cody Nikorima. Like there's several options, but I do think their best spine is Hammer, Milford, O'Sullivan and Jeremy Marshall-King. All right, finally the Cowboys, the team I forgot about. I apologise, Cowboys fans. For the Cowboys, obviously this one's another one that picks itself. You've got Scott Drinkwater, Tommy Dearden, Chad Townsend and Reece Robson. They're not going to make a change to that. That 100% picks itself. So, that's the spine segment out of the way. Now, we're going to be going through my team lists for the All-Stars game. Now, I'll go through the Indigenous All-Stars first. So, they've named a 20-man squad, all in alphabetical order. So I'll tell you how I think they will line up. At fullback, I've gone with Latrell Mitchell. On the wings, I've gone with Josh Adokar and Selwyn Cobbo. In the centres, I've gone with Jack Whiten and Brent Naden. At 5'8", obviously Cody Walker and halfback Nico Hines. In the front row, I've gone with Josh Kerr and Ryan James, who, shout out to Ryan James. I was not expecting him to play in this, but huge shout out to him. Another player I haven't heard of in quite a while, I believe he's playing up in North Queensland, Kieran Mosley. I've gone with him at dummy half. You could also play Will Smith there at dummy half, but I just think Mosley's probably going to get the nod there. I don't know too much about this young Butler fella. I don't know what position he plays. I actually have never heard of him. So it's always good to see, some of these younger sort of players you don't really hear about come in and have a run. Wiremu Greg, I believe his name was, or Greg, played for the Maori All-Stars last year. So he was in the Parramatta system, I believe. So it's always good to see these people you don't normally see. So that's always a bit of fun. All right, on to the Maori All-Stars. We've got at fullback, I've gone with Joseph Manu. On the wings, Jordan Rapana and Dallin Watene-Zelezniak. In the centres, I've gone with Morgan Harper, and I've actually gone with Stafford Toa from the Tigers. Now, there's obviously Adam Pompey, Jesse Arthurs, Hayes Perham. You could choose for the centres, but I have gone with Stafford Toa. I think he's a very underrated player and definitely could do a job for them. At 5'8", I've gone Dylan Walker and halfback Dejan Arce. Both these players aren't, Walker's a good player. He's a veteran. He knows what he's doing. But Dejan Arce in the halves against Nico Hines, I think he's going to get absolutely found out, to be honest. But, I think he's their best option for the halves, unless you were to play, say, Josh Docker Clay there. I don't really know what their plan is for the halves. Maybe they play Manu at 1 or 7. At 6 or 7, I'm not too sure, but for me, it's Dylan Walker and Dejan Arce. Now, the forward pack is insane for this Maori squad. All right, so you've got James Fisher-Harris and Jared Warrior-Hargraves in the front row. I've got, obviously, Docker Clay at dummy half. In the second row, I've gone with Nelson Asafa-Solomona, Britton Nakora, and at lock, Joe Tapane. Off the bench, I've gone Corey Harawira-Naira. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right. Royce Hunt, Jordan Ricky, Zane Musgrove, Adam Pompey. I think I've got Adam's first name right. I do apologise if I don't. Hayes Perham and Jesse Arthurs. So they are my squads for the All-Stars games, 1 through to 20. Look, I think... Actually, I might have stopped. I don't know if I did the whole... I don't think I did the whole team for the Indigenous. Let me go through the Indigenous team again. I apologise. I think I skipped. I'm pretty sure I skipped. Once I definitely skipped. Once I did Mosley and James, I skipped. Alright, so fullback Latrell Mitchell. Wingers Josh Adokar and Selwyn Cobbo. In the centres, Jack Whiten and Brett Naden. At 5'8", Cody Walker, halfback Nico Hines. Front rowers are Josh Kerr and Ryan James, with Kieran Mosley at hooker. In the second row, I've gone with Tyrell Fuimaono, Jermaine Hopgood starting in the second row, and I've gone Chris Smith at lock. Off the bench, I've gone Will Smith, Shaq Mitchell. I've then gone Tanua Brown. I've gone Tyrone Peachy, Butler, Sloan, and Mam. So that is my Indigenous All-Star squad. Let me know, guys, do you agree with these takes? My wife just bloody texted me. Do you agree with these takes? Do you disagree? I'd love to hear from you guys. But, yeah, I think that's going to pretty much wrap it up there, guys. If there are any topics you want me to cover in the next podcast, I'm happy to. But we'll probably be just talking about trials and stuff like that. I might give my prediction on some of the trials. I don't really know what the team list will look like when I record it next week. Well, actually, I might. We'll see. But you probably won't. Oh, you might get a Wednesday. I'll see how the schedule goes next week. You might get the podcast on Wednesday. I'm not too sure at this point of time. But yeah, guys, let me know. Did you like this podcast? Were there things you didn't like? Is there something you'd like me to change? Do let me know, guys. I appreciate the support on this one. The YouTube uploads are going quite well. Had a bit of a fall off last week with the Spotify ones, so hopefully that picks up this week. But yeah, very, very happy with the support I'm getting on this one. So thank you all so much for that. You guys are amazing. And yeah, I think that's going to wrap it up from me. Thank you all so much once again. And as always, my friends, I will see you in the next one. Thanks, guys.